Hello and welcome to today's edition of Daf Yomi. Today's Daf is Daf 61 Amud A of Nazir. So let's dive straight in. Tane Abachir teaches the same halacha. The shaving of a leper does not count for the shaving of Nazirite, as this one a leper shaves before immersion in water, and that one, an impure Nazirite, shaves after immersion in water. This one a leper shaves before the blood is sprinkled, and that one the pure Nazirite shaves after the blood is sprinkled. The Mishnah taught that the shaving of leprosy overrides the shaving of a Nazirite only when he is a confirmed leper. Rami Bar Chama raises a dilemma. There's 4 shavings about which the Tanna spoke. The 4 of that the Nazirite performs with leprosy and impurity are all due to the mitzvah of shaving. So what does that mean? Mishum mitzvah chulu, due to the mitzvah, etc. The commentaries explain that this question does not arise in the case of 4 shavings of a Nazirite discussed in the Mishnah, as each of those might be a shaving of purity, which must be performed at the rate of C40A. The difficulty concerns the 4 shaving of a Nazirite who may be a leper, and impure from a cause in similar cases, where when one of the shavings is certainly for its impurity, Tosfot. The question could have been posed with regard to the shaving of impurity in general, but it happened to have been asked in the course of the discussion of this particular case, or are some of them not performed for the sake of a mitzvah, but for the sake of removing hair that grew in impurity, so that the other hair can grow? The Gemara asks, what is the difference whether he shaves for one reason or another? The Gemara explains, it is relevant with regard to removing hair with a depilatory. If we say the reason is due to a mitzvah, removing it with a depilatory is not an option, as a mitzvah is specifically to shave. But if you say the reason is due to the removal of hair of impurity, even if you rubbed it with a depilatory, that is also effective. What then is halacha? So common here was allusion of Bite to Sefta 6.1, and he shaved with 4 acts of shaving. Now, if it should enter your mind that the reason is for the sake of removing hair of impurity, even 3 shavings should be enough for him, 2 for his leprosy, and the last one for his Nazirite of purity. Since the 3rd shaving is performed only to remove his hair of impurity, so that he can start his pure Nazirite afresh, why is it included? Conclude from the Baita, all 4 shavings are due to the mitzvah of shaving. The Gemara says, conclude from the Baita that this is the case. And now we'll have a summary of chapter 8. To resolve the predicament of a Nazirite who might have become impure, the individual in question was required to observe 2 full Nazirite terms. At the end of the first period, he brings with the Nazirite who has become impure, whereas the stipulation that if he was in fact not impure, the offering should be considered of those of pure Nazirite or as gift offerings. He then begins a conditional Nazirite term impurity. If he was impure, the new period is obligatory, whereas if he was not impure, it is an additional voluntary term. With regard to an uncertainty that involves 2 Nazirites, at the end of the first term they bring offerings of impurity and offerings of purity, and stipulate that the offering of impurity should satisfy the obligation of the individual who is impure, or the other should be for the pure Nazirite. At the end of the second term they bring offerings of purity for the one who is impure in the first term, while issuing a corresponding stipulation. If a Nazirite might have become impure from a corpse and might be a leper, and there's 4 periods of Nazirite, this is because one act of shaving does not count toward both the obligation of Nazirite and that of a leper. After the first term has been completed, he performs the shaving of a leper, and after the second, he undergoes the second shaving for his leprosy. Following the 3rd term, he shaves as an impure Nazirite, and when the 4th term is over, he performs the shaving for the completed Nazirite impurity. Since some of the offerings are sacrificed only due to uncertainty, e.g. those of an impure Nazirite and a leper, the individual does not bring a guilt offering, but only a burden offering, but for uncertainty. An offering that can be simulated as voluntary. The Gemara analysed the issue of why one cannot satisfy the obligation of a leper to shave, and the shaving of a Nazirite with the same act. We'll also discuss the tangential issue of the prohibitions against rounding one's head and shaving one's beard. A more in-depth study concerned the relationship between a positive mitzvah and a prohibition with regard to the order of preference when 2 or more mitzvahs conflict. And now an introduction to Perek 9. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when a man or woman shall clearly utter a vow, the vow of a Nazirite to consecrate himself to the Lord, number 6:2. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when a man shall clearly utter a vow of personal to the Lord, according to your evaluation, Leviticus 27:2, and if any man shall die very suddenly beside him, and he defile his consecrated head, then he shall shave his head in the day of his cleansing. On the seventh day he shall he shave it. In number 6:9, this chapter completes the various topics associated with Nazirship and incidentally addresses issues of a similar halachic nature. The first topic concerns individuals who are unable to become full Nazirites, these Gentiles who may not adopt any measure of Nazirship. It also addresses those who are under another's authority and are therefore incapable of adhering to the strictures of this vow, e.g. women, Canaanite slaves and minors. The Gemara seeks textual support for these halachot and contrasts the rulings that apply to these different individuals. Another topic addressed is the procedure of a Nazirite who contracted ritual impurity from a corpse, but discovered that fact only after he completed the term of Naziriteship. The halachot of impurity of a Nazirite depend on the degree of one's awareness of the source of impurity, and therefore the chapter considers various uncertainties involving different sources of impurity. The Gemara discusses when one must search for unknown graves, and when one must be concerned for a possible plague of leprosy or the discharge of a zav. In addition, this chapter examines halachot concerning a source of impurity that is not fixed in place but is floating. So let's continue the daf. Hagoyim ein lahem nazirus. Gentiles do not have Nazirship. The halacha of Nazirship do not apply to Gentiles, as the Torah begins the passage dealing with this halacha in number 6:2 with the phrase, "Speak to the children of Israel." Rambam Sefer Hilchot Nazir 2:16. I.e., the halacha of Nazirship do not apply to Gentiles. They are not subject to the prohibitions of a Nazirite, nor does one accept their offerings at the end of Nazirship. However, women and Canaanite slaves do have Nazirship. Noshim v'avodim can become Nazirite. That's in the Rambam Sefer Hilchot Nazir 2:17. The Mishnah adds there is a greater stringency in the case of women than in the case of slaves, as a master may force his slave, shehu kofer es avda v'chulu. A father or a husband can notify the Nazirship of a daughter or wife, respectively, just as with her other vows. If he fails to notify the Nazirship, he may not force her to transgress a vow. However, if upon hearing her vow, he acts in a manner that indicates his desire to nullify the vow, it serves as nullification. By contrast, a master may force a slave who has undertaken Nazirship to drink wine and conduct impurity imparted by a corpse, and that's in the Rambam Sefer Hilchot Nazir 2:17, Shulchan Aruch Yodeh 234-39. And the other footnote, even if a slave has taken a vow of Nazirship, his master may force him to drink wine, shave, or become impure, and thereby violate the terms of his vow. By contrast, if one fails to nullify his wife's vow at the appropriate time, he may not force her to transgress it at a later stage. To drink wine, shave his hair, or become ritually impure from a corpse, despite the slave's vow of Nazirship, but a husband cannot force his wife to transgress her Nazirship. And now going to the Gemara. Kisane. The Mishnah teaches that Gentiles do not have Nazirship, whereas women and slaves can be Nazirites. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? It is as the sages taught that the beginning of the passage about Nazirship, which states, Diber es b'nei Israel, speaks to children of Israel, number 6:2, serves to emphasize that these halacha apply to Jews, but not to Gentiles. Furthermore, a continuation of the verse, and say to them when a man or woman shall clearly utter a vow, serves to include slaves. The Gemara asks, why do you need a verse to include slaves? Haven't you said the following principle? Any mitzvah that a woman is obligated in its performance, a slave is also obligated in its performance. So let's have a footnote to explain that. A Canaanite slave is immersed in a ritual bath and is then obligated in those mitzvahs that a woman must observe. Likewise, he is exempt from those mitzvot from which a woman is exempt, and that's in the Rambam Sefer Kabbalah Hilchot Chagiga 6:1, Rosh Yodeh 267-17. Since the halacha of Nazirship applies to a woman, it should also apply to slaves. Rava said, here it is different. As with regard to vows, the verse states to bind his soul with a bond in Numbers 33, and the sage expounded that this is referring to only to one whose soul is in his possession, i.e., who is on his own jurisdiction. This excludes a slave whose soul is not in his possession, but is under his master's control. The verse from Leviticus is necessary, lest you say that since the soul slave is not his possession, one should say that with regard to halacha and Nazirite as well, you cannot undertake the vow notwithstanding the principle that slaves have similar halacha to women with regard to obligations who can become Nazirites. Aforementioned verse teaches that a slave can in fact take a vow of Naziriteship. The Gemara returns to the early exposition of the verse. The Master said in the Brisa that the verse specifies, speak to children of Israel but not to Gentiles. The Gemara asks, and anywhere that Israel is written are Gentiles, not including that verse, but there is a counter example in the verse written with regard to halacha evaluations. Arachin. The halacha evaluations are outlined in the Torah in Leviticus 27, 1-8, and are clarified in the tractate Arichid. An erech evaluation is a special type of consecration by which a fixed sum is given to the temple treasury in accordance with the age and gender of the subject of the vow, now without regard to for its importance or actual monetary worth as a slave. Valuation applies only to a whole person. Consequently, one who says, I'm obligated in valuation of my hand, has not said anything of consequence. However, one can vow and consecrate the monetary value of a hand or foot in and of itself to the temple treasury, but this is not an aspect of the passage in the Torah addressing valuation. Notwithstanding the above distinction, if one valuates a part of the body upon which the life depends, e.g., if he says, I'm obligated in valuation of my head, it is as though he evaluated the entire individual, and one cannot live without a head. As this is written in Speech to Children of Israel in Leviticus 27:2, and it was taught in a Brita, the children of Israel can take a valuation vow. B'nai Yisrael ma'avichin, Jews can take a valuation vow, but Gentiles cannot. If a Gentile says, I'm obligated to give my value, or I'm obligated to give the value of so-and-so the Jew, his statement is of no consequence. However, a Gentile's value may be used in a Jewish valuation, e.g., i.e., if a Jew declares, I'm obligated to give the value of so-and-so the Gentile, he must know the Gentile's value in accordance with the latter's gender and age. This issue is the subject of a dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, as Rabbi Yehuda claims that a Gentile can evaluate others, but he cannot be evaluated himself. The Rambam rules in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Meir because the Gemara states that his opinion is more reasonable. This consideration outweighs the principle that halacha follows the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda in his dispute with Rabbi Meir. And that's when the Rambam says, Hilchat Arichin V'Rachmim 1:6. As this is written, I said that, but Gentiles cannot take a valuation vow. If a Gentile declares, I undertake to donate the value of so-and-so, his vow does not take effect. The writer continues. One might have thought that this means that Gentiles cannot be subject of evaluation either. I.e., if a Jew says, I'm obligated to give the value of so-and-so the Gentile, his vow would not take effect. Therefore, the verse states the inclusive expression when a man, Talmud lo ma'ish. Some commentators explain that just the term man serves to include Gentiles with regard to one aspect of valuations, i.e., they can be evaluated like Jews. Perhaps the term man states with regard to a Nazirite likewise serves to include a Gentile in certain aspects of Naziriteship, i.e., the prohibitions, even if his Naziriteship offerings are not accepted. And that's not common to a Nazir and Tosfot. Shall clearly utter a vow of a person to the Lord according to evaluation, Leviticus 27:2, to teach in this regard every man, even a Gentile, including halacha evaluations, inasmuch as the Torah also states with regard to a Nazirite, when a man or woman shall clearly utter the vow of a Nazirite, number 6:2, perhaps one should include Gentiles in halacha of Nazirship as well. The one answers, here in the case of Naziriteship, it is different, as it states for his father, or for his mother, or for his brother, or for his sister, shall not defile himself, number 6:7. From here to derive that this mitzvah applies only to one who has a father. This excludes a Gentile who does not have a father. The Gemara asks, with regard to what halacha to the Gentile like a father, if we say that it's with regard to inheritance, but then Rabbi Chia Ba'avin said that Rabbi Yochanan said a Gentile inherits the estate of his father by Torah law, as it's stated, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as an inheritance in Numbers 2:5. Let's explain that in a footnote. Go Yoresh Esaviv. A Gentile inherits his father's property by Torah law. As for the other halacha of inheritance, Gentiles may follow their own customs. That's the Rambam Sefer Mishpat, Mechilchat Nachalot 6:9, Shulchan Aruch Choshen Mishpat 281. Rather, this mitzvah of Nazireship applies to one who is warned concerning the honor of his father. And And as the mitzvah to honor one's father does not apply to a Gentile, it is though he has no father. The Gemara asks, is it written, honor your father, in the context of a Nazirite? Ki kasef kabed. The halacha of inheritance are not connected to Naziriteship either, and yet the Gemara did not raise this point when it discussed the issue of inheritance. The commentaries explain that paternity is inherently connected to inheritance, whereas honoring one's father is a special mitzvah imposed by the Torah. That's for the Rosh. What is the connection between these two issues? Rather, the verse states to go to Nazirite for his father, or for his mother, or for his brother, or for his sister. He should not defile himself in Numbers 6:7, and it should be understood as referring to one who has the potential to become ritually impure, which excludes a Gentile. There is no potential to become ritually impure. That moves us on to the next Daf. Thank you for listening, and all the best. Peace in Israel. Bye.